In this video, I'm gonna break down my entire zcam E2-S6 camera rig and talk about every part and piece on it and my experience with it, and my experience using this whole rig for my first paid video shoot, which I did the other day. So stay tuned, let's get right into the video. So let's just get right into it. First things first, we got this monitor arm here with a phone mount. So I do use my cell phone as a monitor for this camera at the moment. A real monitor isn't quite in the budget right now, especially after getting all this stuff, because I pretty much just got all this in like a few weeks ago. You know, I still got to recover from that before I invest in more, monitors and more media and that type of stuff. So I use my phone as a monitor, and it actually works really well over Wi-Fi. There's really low latency with it, and I've had a pretty good experience so far with it. So that's what I use for a monitor, is this magic arm with a phone mount. So let's go ahead and take this off right here. So this right here is a Joby phone mount, and this barely fits my Galaxy Note 10 Plus. The Note 10 Plus is probably the biggest phone that you can get right now that isn't a tablet. So I'm sure this will fit almost any other phone, every iPhone and most other Samsungs and Google Pixels or anything like that. But I would actually recommend a different one if you're gonna go this route with a phone mount. And I'm gonna go ahead and link it in the description. And I'm actually gonna link everything in the description, so feel free to check out any of those links. They are Amazon affiliate links, so I will get a small kickback if you order a product from them at no extra cost to you. So I'm gonna link the one that I would recommend because this one's a little bit flimsy, and Joby makes a way beefier one that I'm gonna recommend. Next up, we got this magic arm, and this is an AFVO magic arm. I got this from Amazon, and it's been working pretty well for me. If I can get this off, there we go. It's been working pretty well for me. And you got this right here, you can basically loosen it up and move this around however you want. It's pretty nifty. It's pretty useful, especially for a monitor arm, because you can just tilt this anywhere and basically have the monitor wherever you want it. And it has two 1/4-20 threads, so you can mount it basically anywhere on this cage. I mean, it can go on the sides, on the bottom, on the top, basically anywhere. So this is super useful, and I'm really glad I purchased this. Next up, I'm gonna go ahead and just take the battery off. This right here is a Power Extra NPF 970 battery. So it isn't a real Sony brand battery, it's the Power Extra brand, which I also got off Amazon. And this has been working super well. I got a pack of 2 of these, and I've never had to replace these batteries. Even after a couple hours of shooting, I'll swap a new battery in just to be safe, but I've never ran out of juice with these. They've been amazing. Like 2 of them is all you ever need unless you're going on like a 3-day shoot with no way to charge them. These batteries are awesome. They're pretty long, so they definitely add length to the camera. But without it, it's kind of front heavy, especially with this lens. It'll kind of tip forward sometimes. So it kind of helps balance things out if you have a long lens on here. And there are shorter ones you can get, especially if you're gonna use this on a gimbal, but for what I use, these Power Extra NPF 970 batteries are amazing. Then also we got this right here. It's just the antenna. This comes with the camera. So I always run this because I use my phone as a monitor, so I need this for, the Wi-Fi range. Next up, we got the top handle. This is a small rig, rubberized top handle, and this thing's been pretty awesome. My hand does get really sweaty when I hold it, especially with that rubber. Just, there's no airflow, it's just a rubber grip. So when you hold it for a while, my hand gets kind of sweaty on it, but it still stays grippy, which is good. If it was metal, it could probably get slippery if my hands are getting sweaty on it. This one, the grip stays great, and I've had a really good experience with it. So now, time for the baggie of tools. So I can take this entire rig apart with just these few Allen wrenches, and then a flathead screwdriver, or this right here, which the cage actually comes with, which is pretty awesome. We'll get into that, once I start taking the cage off. But the whole rig can basically come apart with just these Allen wrenches, which is awesome. So there we go. Small rig rubberized top handle is off. Next up, we got this right here, which is a cold shoe mount that I added to the cage. It's just a regular small rig cold shoe mount that you can buy with a 1/4-20 screw, so you can pretty much screw it onto anything that has a 1/4-20 thread. And I got this to mount my Rode Wireless Go on, which is, I'm using it right now to record this video, so that isn't on the rig right now, but I use a Rode Wireless Go for all my audio, and the receiver mounts right onto this and then just plugs into the camera's audio input. So that's what I use this. That's what I use this for, just a simple small rig cold shoe mount. So we're getting pretty low on stuff to take off. I guess next thing, the lens right here. So I use Rokinon Cine lenses, And I have a set of the 24, 35, and 85, which on the S6 is equivalent to a 35, a 50, and like 135. So these lenses have worked pretty great for me. I really don't have any complaints with them. You know, the 35, 50, 135 equivalent range is pretty good. I do wish I had a wide angle lens, but this is a great step for starting out with a cinema camera. You know, they're great lenses. They're super cheap. I actually got my full set of the 24, 35, and 85 for $750. So that's like less than $300 a piece, I believe. But if you pick them up separate, you can usually get them for around $300 each, which is a fantastic deal for cinema lenses. And on the front right here, I have a ProMaster variable ND filter. Because this camera doesn't have built-in NDs, I know a lot of other cinema cameras in this price range do, like the FS5, the FS700, from Sony, or the Canon C100 or C100 Mark II. They all have built-in NDs. This one doesn't, and it does actually have the option for an ND filter, but it's an extra $400 charge, and then you have to swap it out if you want to get a clear filter on there. It's a little bit of a hassle. You know, I really wish this just had built-in ND filters like the Sony FS series or Canon C100 series, but it's not a super huge deal, you know, and I can just throw on my variable ND filter. So that's what I do, and it works pretty well. So I'm gonna leave this lens on here because I don't have a lens cap down here, I kind of forgot that. So I'm gonna leave the lens on, but the cage is next, and I gotta take these off to start, which are the HDMI clamps and the USB-C clamp, and these actually come with the cage, which is a small rig cage for the flagship cameras of the E2 series. And this cage has been working out great for me so far. I really don't have any complaints with it. You know, the top handle mounts perfectly on top here. I don't have a side handle yet, but I'm planning on getting a rosette side handle pretty soon here because it's kind of annoying not having a side handle on this. I have to always hold it by the top handle, which most of the time I do hold it by the top handle and it works really well. But there's some times that I'd rather just have a side handle on this side. Everything's been perfect, and especially this little tool right here, which I didn't know came with until I got it. And it just magnets right in the bottom of the camera here. And it's essentially just a flathead screwdriver, so you don't have to bring a screwdriver with you in order to take this cage on and off. You can just use this right here, and there's 3 different screws to take out. So this is super awesome, super smart decision by SmallRig. Let's go ahead and take this cage off. First things first, take the clamps off, and then I'll go ahead and remove the cage. There we go. The SmallRig cage is off, and this is it right here. It's pretty light on its own, but again, like I said, super well built. Next up, all we have left actually is a CFast card. So this camera does use CFast cards, CFast 2.0 cards, which are super expensive if you compare them to SD cards. So this right here is a 128 gigabyte silicon power CFast card, which is like the cheapest one you can get. I've heard good things about it, and from my experience, I've had no issues with it. It's been working great, besides the 128 gigabytes. 128 gigs is not enough when you use a camera like this. I'm definitely gonna need to get a bigger one, like a 256 or 512 gigabyte, but I will be sticking with the same brand because this is super great for the price. It's like half the price of any other CFast 2.0 card. And again, I've had no issues with it. So that's what I use. I definitely recommend this. And there we go. This is the zcam E2-S6 bare bones without the rig on it. This is an awesome camera. After doing my first shoot with this, it's been working great. I've only had a few small issues, which I will be addressing in my full review of this camera. So definitely go down and subscribe and stay tuned for that video. But overall, this camera has been super, super fantastic, especially coming from DSLRs, like my Canon EOS RP that I use to film most of my videos. This is just the biggest difference comparing to that. So that wraps up the full breakdown of my zcam E2-S6 camera rig. Definitely stay tuned, like I said, for the full review of this camera and a bunch more videos about it. And go down and like this video as well if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.